Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll talk about Silas Marner. This book for me is about human nature represented in a small community in a village called Raveloe, and one central character named Silas Marner. It was published in 1861, but the setting of the story happened in the beginnings of the 19th century, and was written by Mary Ann Evans, more famously known as George Eliot. So the book starts with the author telling us about weavers, those men who trade in weaving linen, whom she refers to as looking like the remnants of a disinherited race, because of their scarce numbers amongst the distant areas and villages. And among those in Raveloe village, there is one whose name is Silas Marner. The tale is 15 years after Silas has come to this village, and from the start he was a distant man. He would not interact with the people of this area, and being a stranger to them, they, like all other distant and ignorant communities, had a reason for disliking the odd-looking lone weaver whom no one knew anything about. And they would have dispensed of him entirely, but for their need of his weaving occupation. So he lives amongst them as an alien soul, only interacting when the wives need linen or when he has some necessities that he needs to get from them. We learn earlier on in the story the reason behind Silas Marner's settlement in this strange, distant land, and we sympathize with him, and wish that villagers would know of this too, so that they would have more sympathy themselves towards this man who was betrayed in the most cruel ways by the ones he trusted the most. At the Christmas of that year the story begins, something happens that would change the life of Marner forever and would make his history mingle in a singular manner with the life of his neighbors. The money that Silas cherished more than anything else in existence after coming to Raveloe was stolen from him one night, and this sets the weaver to the verge of depression and madness. This earns him some sympathy from his fellow villagers. However, sometime after that, a little girl of 2 enters his hut one night, of seemingly out of nowhere, with bright blonde hair, symbolizing the lost gold. And so Marner begins a new life of raising this child, and through her he becomes more and more the man he was before the disaster hit him back in his old town, and becomes once again a respected man in society, where he lives with peace and comradeship with the fellow villagers. The story of Silas Marner is one of deep personal feelings. I felt the mistrust that Silas had towards his friend, and I felt the love he had for Eppie, his girl that he came to love even more than the gold that he had lost. I loved the way the writer showed how the ultimate prize for humans are human themselves, represented in a little girl that would grow up and be all the blessings in Marner's life and their villagers' lives too. There are many interesting characters in the novel, and each one of their stories contain a lesson and a moral that the author links very beautifully together. And I especially loved the ending. It made my soul so happy and my heart very warm. This book is one of the books that I want to recommend to every reader, because I believe they can take a good pleasure in following the story of this peculiar man, and also, like many other classics, the writing style makes you wonder at the genius of the writer, and I believe that George Eliot is one of the best Victorian writers. Unlike the gold, which needed nothing and must be worshipped in close-locked solitude, which was hidden away from the daylight, was deaf to the song of birds, and started to no human tones, Ippy was a creature of endless claims and ever-growing desires, seeking and loving sunshine, and living sounds and living moments, making trial of everything, with trust in new joy, and stirring the human kindness in all eyes that looked on her. In old days there were angels who came and took men by the hand and held them away from the city of destruction. We see no white-winged angels now, but yet men are led away from threatening destruction. A hand is put into theirs, which leads them forth gently towards a calm and bright land, so that they look no more backward, and the hand may be a little child's. As the child's mind was growing into knowledge, his mind was growing into memory. As her life unfolded, his soul, long stupefied in a cold, narrow prison, was unfolding too, and trembling gradually into full consciousness. So I hope you'll make a place in your TBR list for this little book and would enjoy it just as much as I did. Till we meet again.